Hello, everyone. Welcome to the expert sessions of the Conversational Marketing Masterclass. Srini, thanks for joining me here. I hope I pronounced your name right, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, super excited to have you join the Conversational Marketing Masterclass. A short introduction about yourself. I've done some research, but you can always add on. You are a chatbot designer and a programmer. You have a PhD in artificial intelligence and NLP, natural language processing, and you have published many articles on the subjects of chatbots and AI. You created a handbook on chatbots and conversational UI, and you also have created a chatbot canvas. That's how I found out about you. So, yeah, do you mind telling a bit more about yourself?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all. So yeah, I've worked in the university as well. So as a postdoc researcher in conversational AI. So I spent a lot of time there, about 7 years or so, building a number of conversational AI systems back then, and then I was supporting a few businesses as well in designing their chatbots and then putting them in front of customers.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a really um, I don't know how to say it. It's been quite an experience working on artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and conversational AI.
Cool. Cool. I want to hear a lot about it. So it seems like you have dedicated a great part of your career towards AI, chatbots, NLP. How did you get into the subject of chatbots?
Um, so that's really a long story. Yeah, it goes back about 20 years, I guess. Probably be surprised to know that I built my first chatbot in the year 2000. So that was like 20 years ago. So that was when I was doing my undergraduate degree, and I was like looking for a project for my final year, and I was really fascinated by artificial intelligence back then, and I started reading up and got into natural language processing, and wanted to build something that would understand natural language and have a chat with it. So my undergraduate degree, the project was actually to build a natural language interface to a library database system. So you have this whole database of books in the library, and you want to talk
Hmm.
about it, like do you have a book on geography or something like that, and it'd be able to go pick it up from the database and come back, and then you can have a conversation about it, like a real kind of natural language conversation. So that's really how it started. Like I was so interested in just getting machines to talk. Probably the motivation came from watching a lot of sci-fi movies like robots talking and things like that, like C3PO and things things like
Yeah,
that. So
that's
yeah,
how it
so I've
started
been
for many of us, I think.
yeah, I know. So I've been like kind of very fascinated about this particular challenge. Like, how do you make machines understand natural language and how do you make them talk? Um, and it's really interesting because natural language has got an inherent ambiguity problem. So you can say one thing and mean another thing, or two different things probably mean the same thing.
Hmm.
So there is a lot of interesting problems in natural language, but you know we humans, we surprisingly, we don't actually even pay attention to all of them. They kind of go under the radar, and we kind of adapt to natural language so very easily. But then when you start building a machine that can talk, you pay attention to all of these details, and I'm like, how did we miss this, right? So how do we go past these problems and are able to communicate so very easily with other people? But so those problems, like are like the huge problems in actually putting machines to talk actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how it started. That, and then I kept building on top of top of that, and it's now I'm still building chatbots. So uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's I can recognize what you say about the difficulty of having machines being able to talk with humans, like in a, because we humans of course have evolved our language capabilities in like over millions of years. So it's this is of course very difficult. All the nonverbal communication and everything needs to be put into
Yeah,
into account.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah.
So if we look at the use cases of chatbots, um, why do you see how do you see that chatbots are interesting for companies to use? And do you have an example of a chatbot that you would say this is something interesting for?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's lots of use cases actually. So if you look at chatbots, basically what they do is they automate conversation, right? And where do you find conversation? Wherever you find people. So there's conversation, right? So we are social animals, and one conversation is one of our defining features. So there is a lot of use cases for chatbots. So you can put chatbots wherever there is conversation and you want to automate it. So you can do it like from a business point of view. Of course, you can think about how businesses talk to customers, and when do they talk to customers, and it's all over the customer journey, right? So you would start with discovery of products, like you want to talk about your products to potential customers. You want to do marketing, and you want to do sales, and then you want to go on to services, like so if one of your product is actually a service, like you want to book a you're running a travel agency, and your job is to book tickets. Then your service is you're providing the ticket booking service to the customer. So there is conversation over there as well. And then you can also do like a lot of support and troubleshooting as well, like so how does this work? So this thing is not working anymore, so how do I return it, and those kinds of things. So there are lots of different phases of conversation that businesses have with customers, and all of those places you can see that 80% of those conversations can be automated. And because they're very simple, they are very repetitive, and a lot of people have the same problem. And it's not like you need a human to sit there and answer those questions. So if you can automate it, you could use conversational intelligence to pick up those conversations, and automate about 80% of them. So I'm not saying that 80% is kind of like a hard rule or anything. It's more like a Pareto's principle, like so 80% of traffic is generated by 20% of problems. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you can identify that 20% of problems, and build chatbots to automate those conversations, then 80% of traffic would be covered in that 20% of problems.
Yeah, and so yeah, I can get that. And you just touched different aspects of a business. So you were talking about product discovery, sales, marketing, also customer service. If you look at the current state of the chatbots, where do you see the most benefits at the moment on these different
I
subjects?
think yeah, I think the most impact is created at the moment in support.
Mm-hmm.
So where customers have a problem, they dial up the call center, or they have a web chat with an agent or something like that. And that's so. And the problem is that there's lot of customers, very few agents. So you have a long queue, a waiting time, and so on. So, and again, if you look at the kind of problems that people come up with, so they might have very simple problems, and they know that the wait time is not justified in that kind of thing. And also it's not justified that you have to wait so long, and then you get passed on to an agent who then have to deal with a very simple problem, right? So if those can be automated, then that kind of provides a lot of benefits in terms of like cost savings, obviously. No wait time for the customer gets an answer immediately, so that's a good thing for the customer from an experience point of view. And also from an employee experience point of view, so the agents get to deal with interesting and complex problems, and not really simple problems that they get bored with. So they have like challenging things to work with, like so where they can use their critical analysis skills and their empathic skills to really connect with the customer. So because those problems are really pressing and they can't be handled by an AI machine or something like that.
Oh, no, exactly. So the yeah, yeah, I can get that. So the process would be more that with the chatbot, you can qualify the problem the user is facing in terms of customer service, and and then find out if it's an easier or more manageable problem for a bot, uh,
Yeah.
and on the other hand, if the problem is requires a lot of more like emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
um, you can add it. You should be able to switch over to a human chat.
Yeah, so basically you plot a graph with a complexity on x-axis and then frequency on y-axis, and you'd
Hmm.
see like a low complexity, low frequency tasks on one quadrant. You'll see low complexity, high frequency on another quadrant,
Yeah,
and you'll see high complexity, high frequency, high complexity, low frequency.
yeah,
So the best use cases for a bot would be low complexity, high frequency. So that's the 80% I'm talking about. So
got
you
it.
have a low complexity task where you don't need a lot of empathic understanding of the customer's problem, or a lot of critical thinking or out of the box lateral thinking and those kinds of things which humans are required to solve. Um, so if you have a very simple process, like oh, I forgot my password, I want to reset it, like so those kinds of things, like okay, what's your user ID, or shall I send you an email? So those kinds of things, like where are very repetitive process oriented ones. So those are the kinds of things that you find in that quadrant, and you take those first, and then you convert them into automated conversation using conversational AI. And the next thing you would go for is like um, high complexity but low frequency, sorry, the low complexity but low frequency as well. So those are like low hanging fruits. Like once you've made your impact with high frequency ones, you could probably go for a low frequency ones as well, and because it's low complexity, you should be able to like automate them as
Exactly.
well. The high complexity, low frequency are the ones you really want to keep it like at with the agents. And the challenging ones will be high complexity and high frequency ones, right? So
Exactly.
they are high complex, very complex tasks, but they're also very frequent. So how do you use conversational AI for that? So you probably can go for like a hybrid model there. Like, can we divide this task up into, like, maybe first part of the conversation the AI can handle, like ask the essential questions, qualify and pre-screen the customer problem, and then hand over to a human. So you could kind
Okay.
of come up with a hybrid model for those kinds of tasks.
Yeah. So, but you will definitely need like the synergy then between the a human chat, like the chatbot should be able to transition to a human chat easily if you want to make it well functioning.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah. So I'm a big fan of, like, having a kind of a synergy between the human team and the AI.
yeah,
So it's not like AI is here out to replace the human team. It's more of augmentation. So it's called collective intelligence by this British organization called Nesta. So they're doing a big report on this. So it's called where humans and AI can collaboratively work with each other. So that's the kind of a model that we should look forward to in the future. So how we can provide the kind of extra support to the human team. So I'd
yeah,
like to see AI like a superpower. So you give the superpower to the human team and they become super agents.
yeah,
So they are able to handle really complex problems really quickly because they can delegate all the low complex problems to AI. Yeah, definitely there is a hybrid model at work here. So
yeah, yeah.
and then
And you're
humans need
addressing,
to really learn how to, how do I work with AI, and
yeah,
how do I make sure that we kind of share the work in such a way that, so I'm doing something I'm interested in, and the AI is doing something that it
yeah, yeah,
can
yeah.
do.
So you're not only addressing like the efficiency part, but you're also addressing the employee satisfaction part as well, because your employees
Yeah.
will be more satisfied with the complex challenges they have instead of the repetitive work they otherwise would be doing.
Yeah,
But
I think employees find that very meaningful, right? So especially in contact centers, the attrition is probably attributed to to doing boring things, like repetitive things and so on, and this kind of leads to disengagement, human errors, and things like that as well. So if those are taken away by AI, then what's left to do is like the interesting problems, the challenging ones, the things where you need empathy and analytical skills and things like that.
yeah, good, good. Thanks for sharing these insights. Um, yeah, so I already mentioned it in the intro. Intro, I came across you through the chatbot canvas you created. I think in 2017 you created the first version, and later you created a
Yeah, I
second
think,
version,
yeah,
maybe
it's 2016 or 17, I don't remember.
more or
Yeah.
less. Um, yeah, so it's a very interesting canvas. I will also share a link to it in the masterclass. Um, yeah, can you share why you created it and what? Yeah, maybe start with why you created the canvas, and later move to what the canvas entails, what it's about.
Yeah, definitely. So back in 2016, I was just building a startup company, and then we were looking at how we can help small businesses to build chatbots and put them in front of the customers and things like that. So that was also the time when a lot of the big players opened up their messaging space for chatbots. So the
Mhm.
Facebook announcement came in April 2016, saying that, oh, we are going to open up Messenger for chatbots. And then there was just little before that was Microsoft's announcement saying that we're going to open up Skype for chatbots, and so on. So there were like so many messaging applications like Telegram and Cake, and so many of them opening up their space for chatbots, and for businesses to be able to kind of automate their conversations with customers and so on. So that was a really interesting time. And when that happened, so there were like so many players. A lot of small companies started up with like, okay, so let's build a solution for this and so on. um, so it um, so people were starting to explore this whole space, and there were like loads and loads of questions, and I just wanted to like kind of give them a bird's eye view, kind of a streamlined approach to how can you deal with this new technology. There were a lot of questions like, oh, this is this going to replace websites, is it going to replace apps, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And so I thought like, maybe a way to provide clarity. So it was, I actually built it for myself, but then I kind of thought like, let me share this out as well. And so yeah, it's got like a number of questions basically, right? So it gives you like a high level view to just get started in this whole idea. So if you're a business and you want to start exploring conversational AI as a proposition, then you might want to answer these questions. That's basically what it is. And because I was also in the startup world, I was exposed to this thing called a business model canvas. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what gave me the idea, like, so why don't we kind of structure it in the same way as the business model canvas? So that's why I've got value proposition in the middle of the canvas. It's very similar to what the business model canvas does. So what a business model canvas does is like, it tries to showcase the entire business model of this new startup or whatever in one canvas. So you've got all these essentials in one canvas, and then when you go to pitch, then you'll be able to touch upon all these important questions. And that's
Yep.
exactly same thing was what I wanted to do with this canvas for chatbot design. So it starts off with a value proposition. It says like, what is the value that you want to provide to your customer, right? So
Yep.
what is it chatbot's going to do for the customer? So clearly articulate that, right? So I want to reduce their the wait time. I want to give them I want to be in front of them like 24/7. or something like that. So be very clear with the value proposition. And then you move on to identifying a lot of things about your customers, like, who is the customer segment you're targeting. So you may have a big business, which means like you have so many different segments, but you may want to choose a particular segment for this exercise. So it could be like, oh, I'm going to target millennials, or people who are phone users, and so on and so forth. So you identify the kind of users for this, so you can keep it like really focused. And then you think about what kind of devices do they use, right? So because this is it's more like a digital interaction, so it's going to be happening on a device, so you want to know what kind of device they use, so which means that it helps you identify the channels you want to be on. So for example, if they are mobile phone users, you can say, okay, let me choose Facebook Messenger because so most of the mobile phones have it, or WhatsApp, for instance. So that helps you identify what channels you want to be on for the chatbot. And then you move on to modalities and channels. So modalities is like, whether this is going to be a voice interaction, or is it going to be a text interaction, and so
Mhm.
on. So it could be a visual interaction. So you have like some screen space, and you can put in some graphics. So that also brings in like emojis and gifs and things like that. So you kind of pep up the way the way the content is presented. And also you need to kind of pay attention to these kinds of things, because the way the chatbot will work depends on the modalities, and the challenges you face with these modalities are different as well, so you need to kind of pay attention to that. Finally, with respect to users, you have channels and current solutions. So channels is like, what kind of channel you want to be on. For example, you can still you can say that, okay, I want to be on web chat because most of my customers try and contact me on web chat, and I already have a human team on web chat. I just want to put a chatbot in there to augment their capabilities. Or you can go like, oh, this is going to be a millennial crowd, they're all into WhatsApp, so I'm going to use the WhatsApp as a channel. So it depends on what kind of experiments you're running. And what are the current solutions, how are the customers solving this problem that you want to actually solve right now, right? So what are the current solutions? And the reason why I want uh, them to look at the current solution is because every solution has got pros and cons. So the current solution may have like, a lot of advantages which you want to retain in your new solution, which is the chatbot.
Mhm.
Whereas if you know what the problems are with the current solution, then those are the pain points you want to remove. So that gives you an idea of what you want to use the chatbot for, in a sense. So once you have an idea of what kind of users, what kind of customer segment you are catering to, and a good idea of all of these other things, then we can move on to the actual task. Like, so okay, what is the chatbot going to talk about? So what are the conversational skills that it needs to have, right? So what kind of content are we going to put in? So for example, if you're running a travel agency, you could say like, oh, I want the customer to be able to book a ticket. So that's kind of like a service conversation. Or you could say like, I don't want them to do that, so there's a website for that, so that's okay. So I want to handle support conversations, like if they have a problem, right? So if they want to let's say cancel a ticket and they can't through other means, they come here, they chat, they talk to the chatbot, and they want to get that sorted. So again, it depends on the conversational tasks. They come from that quadrant that we just discussed.
Yep.
So high frequency, low complexity tasks. So take that, make that analysis, get that in, and then you identify what conversational tasks they need to be. So again, this is really high level. So I want this chatbot to be able to solve this problem. That's it. Like,
Yep.
not go into the conversational steps or anything like that.
No.
So in the version 2, then I thought like, we need to like kind of think about the personality as well, because this is kind of becoming like an important thing. And having a lot of UX designers weigh in. So they say that we need the chatbots to have a personality. Somebody needs to think about its personality. Otherwise, the customers are going to add a personality of their own to the chatbot, because one of the expectations with chatbots is like it's like a human conversation, right?
Mhm.
So kind of add a personality to it. So you would either have a casual conversation or a formal conversation. You would probably have chatbots that throw out a lot of gifs and emojis, like um, very very casual, or it could be really formal, like no emojis, no gifs, like just text, and
Yeah, yeah,
keep it very very structured and so on. So what kind of personality do you really want the chatbot to have? It again depends on what kind of personality the customers want to see, right? So it depends on your business, your brand, your tone of voice, and things like that. So think about that. And then and then I've added this other box called the relationship. I think it's very important when it comes to relationship, like what kind of equation is there between the customer and the chatbot. So is it, and is the chatbot going to be like an expert and the customer is a novice? Like, they don't know how to solve a problem, but the chatbot knows how to solve a problem. Or is it going to be like an advisor? Is it going to be like a friend? Is it going to be like an assistant? So all of these power relationships are there. So we can give it a thought, right? So that you can design the conversations accordingly. Like for example, if you are building a sort of a chatbot with that will work with students, for instance, like an educational chatbot, then
hmm
you want to have a different kind of relationship than with between a customer and business, right? So the power relationships are very very different. So you don't want
yeah,
to,
yeah,
like, you don't want the students to be like bossing around the chatbot. You want to be probably the other way around. I don't know. It's for the
exactly.
educators to
Yeah.
decide, but this is something that they need to think about. And
It
what
also
other
has
background tasks?
some
Sorry,
relationship
go on.
with, it also has some relationship with the personality. So the relationship and the personality are has have some crossover.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, so it kind of feeds back and forth, like
yeah,
so depending on the relationship, like a
yeah,
personality could change a little bit. Like
exactly. Yeah.
um, it'd be like, what can you talk, what cannot you talk, like,
hmm
so personality also includes persona, which means like kind of a background story for the bot, like, what, think of it like a real person and then give it a story, so that it can answer questions, like a lot of people are very curious because it's a very new technology. So the people will come up with and ask questions like, where do you live, are you real, what do you think of god, or what do you, would
Yeah,
ai become real, and
the
those kinds of
popular
things.
Siri questions.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So when you ask those questions, it'd be nice to have a personality to respond to those questions in a nice way, like, not say that I don't understand. So just take those questions in a light way, and answer those questions in a nice, probably in a in an acceptable way. But if you want to be a little bit cheeky, you can probably be,
hmm
if the situation allows you.
hmm
But so those are the kinds of things, like, you could think about in between, in relationship and personality. um then would be there'll be like a set of background tasks which are kind of connected to the conversational tasks. So what it means is, like, and so Shabas will become useful when they plug into different other systems that already exist, like, that serves the customer. So it could be a CRM or a CMS or a database or something like that. So background tasks would be like, oh, I need to fetch this information from a database, or I need to put this information into a CRM, and so on. So those are the background tasks that you need to consider. So kind of, they are the reason why this chatbot needs to exist, or this is where the data is for the chatbots to have a successful conversation. So if I say I want to book a ticket, you get all this information, but where do you put it, right? So you need a background process that will put that information into a database, make sure that the booking's done, and then come back and tell, yes, your booking is finished. So those are the background tasks. So you need to have a high level view of that when you start off. So once you've finished with these, like, you probably have a good idea of how his chatbot is looking at the moment. And then you look at other stuff, like, okay, how we gonna develop this and deploy it. So there are like loads of solutions for this. So this is where you probably get confused, like, which one do I choose? So think about that, like, so again, use all this information that you've collected so far, like, what channels, what kind of modalities, who are the users, and so on. So these will kind of narrow down your solution options, and you can be able to you'll be able to pick up the right solution. So the solutions that allow you for background tasks, the kind of conversational tasks you want to run. Will you be able to portray that personality and relationship using this solution and so on? So all of this thing that we've already seen kind of feeds into this, like,
Yeah,
choosing solutions. um and there are other boxes like fallback, so which is basically like, what happens if the chatbot fails. So eventually chatbots will fail, so you have to figure out what will happen if they do. Who will it hand over to? So is there a website which can handle the traffic, like, if the chatbot fails to do something, can it hand over to a website which can do it, or a mobile app, or a human team? So loads of options there, but have a think about that as well. And then there is the barriers to it, to deploy a chatbot. So there's loads of them as well. So there may be concerns about data privacy, and then again depends on what solution you want to use. So again,
yeah,
it kind of, everything kind of ties into everything else as well. So there might be barriers like that, like, so you um the security, privacy, and legal barriers and things like that. So have a think about that. And finally, and most importantly, there's also this component called the discovery component. Like, how will the customers know about your chatbot, right? So chatbots is a pretty new service, like, it's pretty new technology. So how are we going to educate them about how chatbot works? How are they going to discover where to meet the chatbot, how to talk, how to use it, how to use it in a successful way as well. Like, how do you make that conversation a success? So there's all of these questions, like, at a very high level. So they basically, once you have answers to all of these questions, you have got a good idea of, what kind of solution you want to build, why you're building it, how you're going to build it, and how you're going to expose it to the customer.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very it gives like a very clear understanding of what you want to achieve, and also considering all the elements of building a chatbot. So yeah, I think yeah, to me it's very helpful, and it gives a lot of clarity.
Yeah,
Um,
the reception for this canvas was really good. I did not expect it, but there's loads of people have started using it as well. So and then there were also surprisingly a lot of people who have taken it and translated it into their own languages as well. So I could
you always
see
have
I could
that.
see
The
the
bastard.
canvas, or at least the text, at least the was
Yeah.
translated into Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and so on. Like, I can if I type chatbot design canvas, I can see their versions as well, and some people have gone ahead and made YouTube videos of that, and so
No.
I'm surprised, and I was really happy that this
Yeah.
is being used. So
Consider it a compliment, I guess, that it happens this
yeah,
way.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just one question. So if you look at the more at the so deciding on the complexity of the chatbot you want to build. Um, there are like different types of chatbots in the market now. So you have the basic, the rule-based chatbot that just follows conditional logic and doesn't have any AI element into it. And then you have, of course, more and more complex AI bots. I think for the majority of the companies, it will be difficult. They don't have the resources probably to deploy like a very advanced AI bot. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Because I think this is something that's part of the canvas as well, to decide what kind of bot you are willing to build as a company. Do you have some?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's and I've not specifically gone into that question, but definitely that'd be like part of the solution bet. Like, so what kind of solution are you
Yeah,
like gonna, how
exactly.
can you develop that, the bot? And it again depends on conversational tasks. Like, what kind of task are you looking to automate? So some of so it's it's not it's not very difficult to build either of those two bots, right? So but it's definitely difficult to provide a great experience. Like, getting
that
started is
yeah,
easy, providing a great experience is difficult. So you need to
yeah,
kind of keep your feedback loop, like, keep looking at your analytics, see what the customers are doing, or they finding any sort of issues in the journey and so on, and try to repair them as soon as you can. So yeah, definitely. Uh, between the choice between AI bots and the rule based bots, so that's not strictly there is not strictly a mutually exclusive solution. So you can have a hybrid solution as well. So
yeah,
and I think that's what is working across the industry as well. So the way it works is like, the customer comes in and says that what the issue is, and then you use kind of an intent classifier, which is a learning model most of the times, that kind of classifies what is the intent of the customer,
yeah.
right, based on what they said. And that bit is AI, right? So that bit is machine learning. So
Hmm.
once you've identified or predicted what the intent is, and then you put them on a journey which is mostly rule based, right? So
Exactly.
it'll be like,
Yeah,
we'll be serving a journey where the chatbot would be just be able to provide the customer with buttons as options, and then they click on the buttons and they just navigate through the conversational flow. So it's kind of a hybrid model. So you start off with an AI,
yeah.
identify what journey the customer needs to be on, and then the journey itself is totally managed in a kind of set of
Rule based.
rules.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a hybrid model, and it works. It works
yeah.
very well. And
That's because I can imagine that's what I hear a lot in the industry, that you have the yeah, so the hybrid model seems very logical, because you hear with if you're like fully on AI and you want a lot of interaction with the user, to have a lot of interaction with the bot from there, as them leading the conversation. So and asking questions to the bot, or you'll get maybe like the Siri effect, where there'll be a lot of questions, but there will not the goals will not be met that you want to achieve as a
yeah,
company, and you'll give too much freedom. And when you have so when with the hybrid version, you will be still guiding the user through a journey to the goals that you want to achieve as an organization with the bot. So yeah, that
yeah.
makes a lot
So
of sense.
yeah, definitely, that's actually true. Yeah. So there is this thing called um, what's that called? And the concept is basically about taking control, right? How do you share control? So you want the customer to be able to tell you what the problem statement is. Yes, that's really true. But after that, once you've identified what the problem is, then the bot needs to be in
Yeah,
control, unless the bot got it wrong, right?
yeah,
So if the bot's got it right, then you need to be in control, and you need to be driving the conversation. You don't want the customer to be guessing, like, what else should I say to get the bot to answer that question, right? So that part of responsibility really lies with the business, the conversation designers. Like, once I know what the problem is, how do I take that conversation? With what direction should it go? And how much information do I need to give back to the customer to make them feel comfortable to take that journey? Otherwise, uh, if the bot is like, even uh, showing a little bit of a, a behavior that kind of tells the customer that, oh, the bot did not really understand what my problem is, they will try to take control back and say, like, no, 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 that's not what I meant, right? So it needs to be both ways, obviously. So it's called initiative. So that's coming back to me. It's called
yeah,
mixed initiative, basically. So yeah, you don't want the initiative to be with the bot or with the customer. It needs to be a mixed initiative.
yeah,
So you want the bot to take control when it is really clear about what really clear and confident about what the customer wants, and then drive the conversation forward, so that the customer need not be like, unnecessarily be given a lot of cognitive load. Like, they don't really have to think, like, what else am I have to
yeah,
say, like, so that needs to be avoided. So that's that bad experience. but at the same time you yield the floor when the customer is clearly telling you, you got me wrong. So you need to go back and do it all over again, like, so what is the problem? So sorry, I misunderstood, but can you rephrase? And then you try another approach and another journey probably. So yeah, so that's a mixed initiative is kind of the way to go. And getting it right is difficult, but that's something we have to try. So yeah, definitely that's a challenge for conversation designers.
Yeah, yeah, that's a nice bridge to the next and final question I have for you, because it's a challenge for the conversational designers. But I'm wondering how you, as having a lot of experience in the field, how you see the chatbot market evolve, or chatbots evolve in the coming, let's say, 5 to 10 years.
That's really a good question, actually. So the way the trends are looking, so it's kind of exponential, really. So things are moving really fast, and so at the moment we have like bots that can do as simple conversations, like FAQ type conversations. So you understand what the question is, and then you provide an answer, probably in a single turn or sometimes multi-turn. So you have to ask few more questions, get more clarity, and then give an answer. So it's either a single turn, multi-turn FAQ conversation, or it is a kind of conversation where you are trying to fill in a form. Like if you're booking a ticket or booking a hotel room or something like that, you will ask a few parameters to be filled in. So it's like a filling in a form basically. So it looked like the chatbot has taken out a form, and then it's asking all the questions to fill in that form. So all the fields that need to be filled. So that's form filling conversation, and these are the two predominant approaches at the moment. But the way I see it, like from a functional perspective, so this could go into being able to get data from directly from database, something that I worked on long time ago. So it's called natural language interface to database systems. But again, that's not kind of part of chatbots in a mainstream way yet. So I think that's one way the field will move into. Like so if you have a big database of data, plug in the chatbot, and then the bot will be able to do a conversation about all the pieces of information in that database. So whatever kind of database it is, like a relational database, a graph database, knowledge graphs and things like that. So that'd be really interesting. Like you can talk about who's related to who, and who's friends with who, and so on and so forth. So it'd be really interesting to see that kind of an evolution. There's also like another way it could evolve is like it being able to identify what is the next thing I need to say, right? So at the moment these are all very scripted,
Mhm.
but if they can automatically figure out, okay, if this is my goal state, this is the conversational goal I want to achieve, I need to say this to get in that direction, right? So it's basically being able to make a plan of its own to achieve a goal state. Just like the maps on your phone are able to say, like, if you want to go there, take a left turn, take a right turn.
Oh yeah,
uh,
got it. Yeah,
those kind, it's basically like it's basically planning, right? So it's like do a conversational planning, come up with a plan, and then execute that plan with the customer to get them to that state.
yeah.
So
Is there then
there are
a
lots of
chance
techniques.
of, sorry, is there then also a chance of like manipulation that can get involved then also, so that if you're having this goal state you want to achieve, and the bot can identify different routes to get to this goal, is there also a element that is that there is like some form of manipulation, like with tricks in the language that can be used then? That's
Yeah,
one
so
of the things that I
yeah,
was thinking.
there is this whole field of or a whole study of in machine learning that does this. Like it's called adversarial attacks. So
Mhm.
it's like you say something to make the chatbots do a certain thing, although it doesn't look like it. Like so, it's very prevalent in image recognition. Like so you add a little bit of noise in the image, and and the recognizer would do completely opposite thing than it was before the noise was added. And
Mm.
then the noise that is added was be like at the pixel level, right? So you won't be able to look at the two images and say that this one is corrupted. So they
Uh,
look the same, very pixel level, like, 1 or 2 pixels are changed, and then, the image classifier does something really crazy. So something like that can happen, like, so you'll be able to say something and trick it into doing something else. It's
But the
not
other way
very.
around also, or not, that you can, that at a certain point, the AI will also be able to manipulate the user into achieving the goal they want. They if
Yeah,
they
so
are,
that's
so
that.
if you're looking at the Google Maps example you shared, so you have like the different routes to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
As a so a user might have an end goal, but the company also might have have like a goal they want to achieve, and this
Yeah,
can.
that's a good perspective, actually. So yeah, definitely that is possible. So if the multiple ways to get to a goal state, it always um, this whole idea of reinforcement learning is about optimizing the planning. Like,
Mhm.
so you want to go from A to B, but there are like 5 different ways to do it. So which of these 5 different ways would you choose? So you do some kind of cost planning, and you can do like reward based reinforcement learning to identify which is the optimal route and so on. And again, that reward is totally dependent on, like, who's training. And obviously, like you say, like, it could be like, you can reward the chatbot to take the customer through a journey that is beneficial to the business and not the customer. But yeah, so the whole idea of ethics come into play there. Like, so is it ethical to do that? And do you want to think about win-win? Like, so not only is the business getting some benefit, but can you also pass on some of the benefits to the customer? So yeah, so there's a whole lot of things that you can think about that way. But definitely yes. So but there is also a good um, impact here. So, like, you can think about behavior change. Like, for example, if you are talking to a bot that cares about climate change, for instance, it could maybe try and nudge you into doing things that are beneficial to climate change, like, um, turn off your lights when it's not in use, or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
um, yeah, it depends on the conversational tasks, but and also the values that you want to put. So again, when you're talking about goal based, then these are like part of the goals, right? So you can try and achieve them as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Srini, thank you so much for this interview. We covered a lot of points, more than I expected myself. Yeah, a lot of good insights and information. So what I'll do is I'll add in the comments. I will add the links um, to your book. Can you repeat the name of your book?
It's a hands-on guide to developer's guide to chatbots and conversational UI.
Yeah. So I'll share the link to that and to the canvas. Are there any other ways people can reach you or find you?
Yeah, so yeah, they can always connect with me on LinkedIn.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, so I do a lot of writing. So this is my blog, srinijanarthanam.medium.com as well. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'll share links to that. Again, thank you so much. Hopefully, we'll have a conversation again. I enjoyed it. And I wish you, it's Friday now, so Friday evening here. And for you also, I think, in Edinburgh.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dylan. Yeah, so it's been a pleasure talking to you, and best wishes for your endeavors.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yes.